Welcome to Steelbones podcast, the Amputee Pod, and today's topic is about phantom limb pain. We are joined by two incredible experts from our amazing friends at Blatchford who have organised this expert session because we know what an issue it is for so many amputees that we work with. So I'll introduce them first of all, and then we'll go through some questions. We have just literally finished recording a webinar, which is available on the YouTube channel for you all to watch as well. But this is just in case you can't get that YouTube channel or see the slides. These are just some key questions that I know lots of people ask, and you can hear directly from Lucy and Mark. Okay, so we are joined by Lucy, who is an amputee physiotherapist at Blatchford. She's worked in the medico-legal field for 7 years, and with complex clients as well of neurological and polytrauma, including pain management using acupuncture to help with this. Lucy is also a qualified Pilates instructor and teaches several classes a week. I'm not sure where you fit that in, Lucy, but that is amazing. She enjoys staying active and being outdoors in her spare time and enjoying time with friends and family. I know many amputees do Pilates as well. So yeah, it's fascinating to hear that. Interesting that all of that comes together along with your career as well. And also we have Mark, who is a single below knee amputee, so has real life experience of all that amputees go through. He had his amputation in 1993 due to a nasty motorcycle accident in 91, and he was training as a car mechanic at that time. Following a period of rehabilitation and time spent as a house husband, which I think is fabulous, he qualified as a prosthetist in 2005 and has been working as a prosthetist at the Defence Rehabilitation Centre since 2008. He is currently the clinical lead prosthetist at the DMRC, Stamford Hall, and specialises in the rehabilitation of military personnel that have experienced complex trauma. We couldn't have two better qualified experts to talk on this subject, so a huge thank you to them. I will just let Mark and Lucy say a quick hello to everyone.
Hello.
That was Mark.
Hi, everyone.
And that's Lucy. And I've also got John, our events coordinator, here with me. John, do you want to say hello?
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all.
That's lovely. Thank you. John is also an upper limb amputee. John, aren't you? How long have you been an upper limb for?
Since 2021.
Okay. Yeah. And John, do you experience phantom pain yourself?
I don't know if you class it as phantom limb pain, but what I do get is the best way I've always described it is always being at the end of my stump, like a firework display going off 24/7.
I can see
and that's kind
smiling.
of permanently there all the time. And it's just something I've kind of sort of got used to, and I've just tried to push myself further with different activities to kind of distract my mind from it and everything.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, John was also on that webinar that we had. Did you find that helpful, John?
Yeah, it was very interesting. Very interesting.
Really good stuff in there, all about electric. Well, anyway, Lucy will no doubt go into some of that stuff as well. Okay, so first of all, just a couple of questions for you guys, really. Mark, what you were talking about on the webinar about what causes phantom limb pain and why do some amputees experience it more than others? Could you just talk a little bit about that for us?
Yeah, I think if we look at the statistics, then there are some very significant risk factors, shall we say, that are potentially will make you more likely to experience phantom pain. Things like Well, for a start, somewhere between 40 and 70% of amputees get phantom pain. I think that's very important. It's not unusual. You're not weird. It's normal for an amputee. But also things like stress, anxiety, depression are all likely to have an effect on the persistence or the exacerbation of phantom limb pain. A study of 3,000 amputees in Germany found an association between shorter residual limbs and higher phantom pain, and that amputation at a lower age is associated with less phantom pain. And other studies have reported kind of a higher age at amputation was a risk factor for phantom limb pain, so that's kind of the same thing. And that persistent pain before amputation may also have a significant effect on experiencing phantom pain post-amputation. So to kind of put that all together, stress and anxiety might be involved. Well, having an amputation is quite stressful and you're going to be anxious. So that's a bit of a no-brainer, really, and probably hints at why phantom pain, especially immediately post-amputation, is so common. Hopefully, as you recover from that surgery, the stress and anxiety of that, will reduce and potentially will have a less of an effect on how you're feeling moving on. But yeah, unfortunately, if you're an older with a short residual limb, you had pain before the amputation, and for all of those reasons, you're probably not doing too well with your rehab, and you're not wearing a prosthetic limb that much, then yeah, statistically, you're probably going to suffer more with phantom pain.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because we've got amputees who have been amputees from birth, and they were just explaining the difference, one of which has a recurring dream, but yet doesn't suffer with the phantom pain. And then we had another gentleman who was, I believe it was a planned amputation, but in older age, and has their leg is like at a right angle, isn't it? They think their leg that isn't there anymore is at a right angle, and sadly has been told several times, you can't possibly be feeling that. But Mark, that you speak to many people who that does happen for, sadly.
Yeah, absolutely. And and as I said in the webinar, it's unfortunate that we use the term phantom pain, because to those who, outside this, outside of being an amputee or being in this industry, that absolutely sounds like a not real pain, when actually it's a very real pain, just in a phantom part of the body. And I think, it is I don't know what word you'd use instead, but it is an unfortunate word. It gives an indication that it's not a real thing. Yeah, so it's
Yeah, I never
unfortunate.
actually thought of the word itself. We just accept it as fan, but you're right. It actually has real misconnotations, doesn't it? So yeah, thank you for that. How long, and I think I know the answer to this already, but I'll just ask it. How long does the phantom limb, for want of a better word, the phantom limb pain typically last after the amputation?
So again, statistically, you would expect it to, if it's going to go away, you'd expect it to kind of clear up in the first year. You would expect it to be worse immediately after amputation for all of the reasons we just talked about, the stress and anxiety and the insult to the nerves and everything else from the amputation. But yes, statistically, for an awful lot of people, it clears up within that first year. And of course, that first year relates to, for most people, starting limb use, becoming better at limb use, wearing a limb more often. And all of those things generally are accepted as helping with phantom pain. But like all of these things, not for everybody.
Okay. I think to Lucy and yourself, you might have some tips for both of the. What would you say to an amputee, first time amputee, they've just had it done really, who is experiencing phantom limb pain? What would be the initial advice right now?
Well, I think going back to the pain management in terms of medication, I think maybe just initially getting on top of that potentially. So just, speaking to your team around your consultants, GP. Because I think if you can, obviously I'm not one for completely masking everything long term, but if it means that you can just tolerate it and manage it in that short term, it might be something that then you just don't really have to worry too much about. Obviously that approach might not be for everyone, and I think just understanding it's normal as well, like going back to that phantom idea that it's not there, it is there and it is real, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
I think that can be half the problem, can't it? You then think you're being silly, so you just ignore it.
That's it. And I think, acknowledge it. Don't feel, be strong enough to believe it's real, and like hopefully you'll have a good, if you are obviously in that situation, you're going to be around a team hopefully that are aware of phantom limb pain. But just try and feel supported, do some research. Like Mark said, it might be worse initially once you've gone through all that trauma, and just know that it can get better. There are options out there that can help. Let's say whether that is pain meds, like it works for some people, it does suit some people it doesn't. If you wanted to get back to work, obviously you might not be able to take certain pain relief, but there are other options out there in terms of managing it holistically without using medication.
I meant to say that in the questions of the webinar. I love you have both used team throughout the web, and I think that's so important for amputees and family members to be aware of, that it is a team effort. I know when my husband, he's an amputee, and when he's in a lot of pain, he sometimes forgets the simplest of things that help him. He can give advice to other people, but for himself, when he's very exhausted with it and isn't really functioning, you do forget. So it's about a team, isn't it? Going, well, have you tried the hot compress? Have you tried just going for a walk just to get a new environment, or whatever it be?
Whether it's the rehab or the getting on with life, it's all team related. I mean, as I said, I'm part of the complex trauma team. I make limbs, but I don't teach people how to use them. And if you're an upper, so it's either a physio if you're a lower limb, or an OT if you're an upper limb, or I'm just part of the process. And without the rest of the team, one of my favorite examples, we fit some very expensive prosthetic products here, that are absolutely the price of a very, very nice sports car. But if you haven't got a driving license, the sports car is pointless. If you don't get the rehab after you get your prosthetic limb,
what's the point?
What's the point? Absolutely.
Really good way. And Mark, I'm guessing the journey that you've had as well to be now a prosthetist with an amputation, you've had a whole team around you to, family and whatever, to kind of, and yourself, not just, not everyone else. It's obviously hugely down to you as well, but it must be brilliant to be kind of.
But to put that into context, so yes, I was a house husband for 10 years, but then, when my kids were both school age, I decided to move all of us 200 miles north to Manchester so I could go to university for 4 years. So absolutely, a family effort, it wasn't just down to me, absolutely, whole team effort. And I couldn't do, one of the reasons I've worked here as long as I have is because I know that the way we do it is the right way to do it. And I think I can tell. So working in a private service as Lucy does, physio input these days is seen as absolutely essential part of the treatment. 15 years ago, it kind of wasn't really. They just wanted to sell you, the most expensive product they could put a markup on. And that's any private company, But these days, it's absolutely seen as a key element of prosthetic treatment, of rehabilitation.
God, that's a really good point, Mark. The fact that as well, we can't just, I think anyone in pain, you just want the quick win, don't you? So even the painkillers, even the acupuncture, whatever it is actually not all in isolation, is it? It's all rehab, prosthetic, exercise, eating, whatever it is, it's everything.
Like Lucy said, going back to your original question, take the painkillers now. If you can mask the pain initially, that may help you start your rehab journey. And then statistically, as you move on in your rehab journey, that pain will probably reduce. So you may well be able to, take the drugs early on if that's what helps you, start your rehab, and then you'll probably be able to reduce those drugs because the pain will improve statistically as you progress along the rehab pathway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for that. This is probably one for Lucy. Are there any specific, could you talk us through just some of those specific exercises or therapies that are available that you work with?
Yeah, so there's quite a few options out there. Obviously, you've got your more like self-administered ones. So you've got mirror therapy and graded motor imagery. So they are something that initially might be provided by, if you're involved with a physiotherapist, either in NHS or private, they might be able to support you with that. So mirror therapy works by using a mirror, basically. So it's quite a cheap and easy, accessible alternative, hopefully for most people, something you might have around the house already. So you're basically mirroring your leg or arm, and doing some exercises. So if you, for example, lost your left leg, you put the mirror, angle it so that you appear to have your left leg fully there, and you'd be doing some exercises using your right leg. And still trying to work the muscles in your residual limb. So you still want to be working and activating your quads and your glutes and your hamstrings, to then over time, hopefully, your brain is then convinced that that leg is still there. So then you exercise those muscles with fire up from your brain to the residual muscle or the missing part of your leg. And then you find ways to manage that yourself. So that's something that is, let's say, quite easy to set up. There are resources out there. If you do a bit of research, either there's, I know Mark found some in the webinar, that there's quite a few on YouTube. It's something that you could easily try yourself. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then you might just need to look down a different route or just get a little bit more guided support from a therapist. Your other one, which is quite easily self-administered, is graded motor imagery. I forgot to say this in the webinar, but there is an app, a specific app. So it is something that I think you do have to purchase it. But if it is something that, you do that initial purchase, you just need like an iPhone or an iPad or, tablet or something like that. It might be something that you could do yourself, and it will guide you through it in a more specific way. I think you could, just potentially get images. So what it does is uses images of your missing leg, similar to the mirror therapy. You want that visual input of having, visualizing your leg being there, and over time you build up those images and add more and more to it. So I'll send you the link, Emma, for the
That's lovely.
the app, and then you can
Lucy.
pass it to people. Then I think if you search graded motor imagery, something will come up, but I'll send a link too.
Oh, I think the signal might have gone. It was getting a bit weak, wasn't it? Towards, I think a signal might have gone. Okay, so I know that. Oh, she's here.
Sorry, I lost you.
That's
there,
all right. You're fine. Don't worry.
Where did we get to? Did you get to
I think you were just ending about the app and saying you send a link through.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then the other two, what I work closely with is electroacupuncture. So that works by inserting needles into the body, not necessarily into your residual limb, but around the back, where a lot of chronic pain stimulus comes from. So you're getting your major nerves like down into your sciatic nerve. So electroacupuncture basically insert needles, you then attach electrodes to a machine to your needles, which give a TENS-like stimulus. So if you've ever had a TENS machine, it's very, very similar to that. It's a gentle, low current, which then gives a little bit more of a higher intensity pain relief. So it dampens the pain signals from the brain to wherever you experience pain. So it does affect the full body. It's not just one specific area. We do tailor it to the area, but it does affect everywhere. So that's one option. It is a little bit more expensive if you go private. We do recommend having a 12-week block. So you get that burst of intense therapy, you get that hormone stimulation, basically stimulates your happy hormones, so your oxytocin, serotonin, which then makes you feel happier and better and more relaxed. So it just depends how much pain you get. If you struggle sleeping, it could be quite a nice one. The client of mine, I do it whether he just falls asleep whenever he has it, so he just has a snooze for half an hour. But you do get a knock-on effect. It tends to be after a couple of days that you get that burst of serotonin and then you feel better. So it might not be an instant relief, but over time you should start to improve. And then the other one is neuromotus. So works similar to your mirror therapy. It's probably like a bit of a combination of mirror therapy and graded imagery. You are looking to visualize the missing limb, acknowledge its presence, and then you attach electrodes again to your muscles in your residual limb. Try and activate those, get them stronger to get to improve the pain signals from your brain to where you are experiencing the pain, and then build up that strength and that activation. And then long term, you can hopefully get control of it. So if you're feeling pain, you can channel it, you can do some exercises yourself, which then hopefully dampen down that pain long term. So again, it's quite an expensive modality. Not everywhere does it. It's not that readily available, unfortunately, but it is something that is out there. So it could be an option for people long term. And we do suggest also doing the 12-week block initially, and then obviously we can look and review things. It might not have to be as regular after that, but they are sort of the four main ones that are, there's quite a lot of varied evidence. Like everything, it might work for some people, it might not. Obviously, if you're going down the more expensive ones, it's just having a good think about what might work for you. Speak to therapists who do the therapy. Don't just, I won't say just jump into it. Make sure you do your research and see what might work for you.
Lucy, that's fantastic. And I thought that was a really good point about the acupuncture or any form of therapy being consistent and regular, not sporadic. Don't give up on it if it hasn't done anything in a month. It's 12-week initial course and then see where you are from there, really. But if you're going to do something and invest that money, do it right. Sometimes the NHS does cover that, but it's all different for different people. So
that's it. Unfortunately, it's not always. Like I said, certain areas might have it and others don't. But it's. I mean, I think if it's you're looking around £2,000 maybe for the block. But if it can potentially help you long term, I know, appreciate not everyone has online around, but just speak to clinicians, and they hopefully might be able to help support you in that. And
I mean, I think some people, the hideous pain that they're existing with, £2,000 would be, for some it would be unimaginable. They can't. But for those people that might have those funds there, they absolutely can. And even if you're listening to this and you don't have those funds, there's make sure you're looking at all other options, and speak to the GP and social prescriber, because they may well have a little pot of money that they can access. You just don't know. There's all sorts of different things available. So just think, there are options and you're not alone. Mark, I just wanted to check that book that you mentioned on the webinar. What was that called?
Phantoms in the Brain by Ramachandran.
Oh,
It's
fantastic.
I mean, it is medical, but I mean, it even says one of the most accessible neurological books of our generation. It's certainly less hard work than trying to read a medical paper, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And it covers a lot of the things. He's the kind of guy who did sort of brief lectures and things. So, it's quite interesting. I'd definitely recommend it.
Marvelous. I just wanted to make sure we got that in there. And if anyone has any questions when they're listening to this, just to email them in to Steel Bones. Lucy and Mark, you've been incredibly helpful for many, many people today, and it will stay in our resource library for decades to come. It'll probably all change in a couple of years, so we'll ask you very kindly to come back. But can't thank you enough really for your time today, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.